Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I am your host, Alecia Jacobson. What's up, badasses? How are we today? Thank you as always for tuning in. Thank you again for voting us Best of Madison Silver. That was super, just a really great reward for doing this work. This work is already really rewarding, but just it was a neat thing to happen. So thank you to all of you who voted. Today, I'm just going to jump right into it. Normally, I don't share things as I am going in the middle, the messy part of it. But this one, I think it ties into the first episode that I did for season 3. I believe that was episode 98 about systems and routines and kind of building routines so that you don't have to be Superwoman. And that was focused on small routines, small systems, and needing to revamp them or revisit them if what you did before, if life has changed, that's not working. And as I was preparing for today's episode, I kind of drew that connection of, here I shared the kind of small scale systems and routines and what that looks like to revamp. And I kind of didn't connect it all because in my personal life, in my marriage, and in our family, we are essentially building an entirely new system. I don't even know what this means, which is normally why I don't come and share widely as I'm in the middle of it, but it's not bad. I mean, it's not necessarily delightful, but it's not like a icky, messy, anything like that. So I feel I can share it, and hopefully it will give you permission, inspiration, just something to kind of maybe even open your eyes to things that, this isn't working and I don't have to continue this way. So 2 summers ago, my husband got a new role at work, which he was traveling. If you recall, I did an episode about kind of anchors that I needed to have things in life because I really like spending time with him a lot. And I was really missing him. So I needed things to kind of anchor me in and be like, okay, I can look forward to this and I have this. And because we had so many things that I could look forward to together, just us time. And those things were no longer there. So we kind of came up with this, I would call it a Band-Aid now. It worked until it didn't. And we met with our coach / marriage person. And she essentially was like, your system is broken. And to be quite honest, we were probably running on a broken system to begin with. I mean, the work we're doing now is the work that most couples do prior to deciding to live together for always. We were having a lot of sex and really loved each other. And we're like, you know what? We should get married. And I think when you are too happy and are having so much sex that maybe your brain is not working. we didn't really think about systems and how do we want to approach parenting. It was because we're blended. I kind of parented my way. He parented his way. And then we would kind of clash a little bit because when you have kids the same age living under the same house and you parent differently, but we didn't have the tools and the resources at the time. So it was basically, we're just on fire figuring it out as we go. And we kind of did that with everything. And then what happened was we were making it work, and it wasn't all it wasn't all failing. It was just sort of whatever you're maybe limping along and you're still okay. Kind of maybe a marathon runner that you're going to finish, but you're probably not as good as when you started. So we kind of just started breaking down a little bit. And then when he started traveling more and we're kind of reevaluating where we're putting our time, our energy, what do things look like now? It basically what it did is it was the curtain is pulled back and the system that we're using is not working. And that system, holy hell, when I talk about revamping and basically dismantling and destroying. I think it's already probably destroyed, but like the system of our, it's not marriage. I guess it would be like household, family, whatever that would be, that umbrella. I don't even know where to start. Sort of when you're in the middle of it, you can't see it. And that is really, it's been really kind of, I'm going between like super exciting and also scary as fuck. And I think, we have these breakdowns of systems all over on like a larger scale. This can be, within a whole family. This can be in, an organization, schools, all of these things, like big systems that are just kind of breaking down and are no longer working. And then it's like, you need a fucking team to take it apart and figure out what stays, what goes, we're doing some values work right now. We're doing some, what are the things that are really important to us, are non-negotiables? Because I look back at who I was, in 2012, and that bitch is not this bitch. Like, we are two different people now. And my values, well, my core values of humanity and caring about people and those kind of, but the values that branch off of those have changed, and our family has changed. Our lives have changed. We never really set a plan of where are we going, because I don't think we knew where we were going. I mean, we would do goal setting for career wise, but as far as, we did not have a clear outline of what do we want this marriage to look like? What do we want the daily happenings in our marriage or house to look like? It was just like crisis management, one thing after another. Not necessarily big crisis, but it felt, probably big at the time. And then add two more kids on there and COVID and all of that. It's like, it's almost like we didn't have a chance and we didn't take the time, because I think that is the one thing, as we're now trying to figure out what does it look like to create a solid foundation and a solid system. You have to have a lot of time to do that. And maybe not a lot of time, you have to have dedicated time. And as we are working through this, we pulled in another therapist that we're working, because I think you really need a team. I think you need people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a paid therapist or somebody like that, because I have people in my world that I think are just so wise, and I can kind of chat with them and see. So finding people like that, but it's a tricky place to be because it is big and we've never done it before. We've never done this together. We've never probably looked at ourselves in such a way as a kind of unit. So, looking at ourselves separately, but then also as the partner of this other person. And I think those are the same, but also very different. Who am I next to this person? How do I want to be? How do I want to be showing up? What are the common things that we are working towards? Which, as I've been going through this just in the last couple months and kind of now even saying it out loud, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, how did this not occur to me? But we got to a point that we had pulled in our coach again and was like, okay, some things are not working. And she was telling us, like, yeah, you need new systems. You need to build a new system, because the stress level and the pressure has been so great for both of you now, and you can no longer operate on this broken system. So then I'm trying to figure out, okay, what does it look like to build essentially a whole new operating system in a family, a marriage, what is that? And I don't have the answer yet. We are still very much working on it. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what it felt like, because it felt like crisis management. It felt like everything was on fire. It felt touchy. Like we just were kind of misfiring and there was a disconnect and things just were not like when you have to bring something up and you're like, I know this isn't going to go well, but you want to, and the other person, there's things were just, they were not clicking. And these are hard conversations to have because, we're blended and every partnership has its own unique thing. So I know that we're not that unique, but to us, it's fucking gigantic. And I'm like, I don't even know where to really start with this. And as you know, when you're starting anything new, it looks so big up close. You're like, I can't even, like, I really I can't even conceptualize what this is. So we brought in another person, which I'm decided I'm not going to work with her. And that too, I love me some therapy and just people, the helpers, the healers. I really just love them. And I think that they're needed. And again, this can come in the form of friendships and your community and people like that. But to know when a person is not good for that role, I gave it 2 shots. And when we met with this other therapist, and I was like, oh, you are not the conductor of the train that's going to get us where we need to go. And that's okay. I think actually I was talking with my husband about last night. I actually, even though I was like, because when I am in any sort of coaching or therapist, I need like rapid fire. Like, okay, here's this. Let's pick through this and let's go through it. And then, okay, on to the next thing. And I can get like, I don't know, 6 or 7 things done in a 50-minute session. And it's like, I don't need all the fluff around it or repeating it or like, I'm just like, let's get to the fucking point. I don't have a lot of time here. Let's, do this. And I wasn't getting that in any sense whatsoever. And that is okay because what I did get out of it is I actually kind of saw a different side of my husband in the sessions. And he's not a therapy junkie like I am, but the way that he showed up, the way that he spoke his needs or our needs, it really, and I was telling him this, and he's like, I don't even remember what you're talking about, but I just saw him in a different light. So even as you go down any path with whomever you're doing this with, there are good things that can come out of like this is not going to work out with this professional. However, I got so much out of it just by seeing my husband kind of navigate it and then having conversations with him. I felt so much closer to him afterwards, even though like this is not our person. So that was just a really neat kind of, even if it doesn't work out, the way you think it will, what can you get out of it anyway? And kind of just paying attention to that. So we realized like fucking shit is not working. What do we do? So we're pulling in professionals and we're going to go back to our normal coach. I messaged her. I'm like, so could we get like a full day with you? What does that look like? But it's like, we want to just get this built. And I think there's many different ways that you can go about it. I mean, this has been simmering. I mean, I have, shared bits and pieces on here for a year and a half now, probably. So it's been kind of just there as in, this is not working. And we've tried this and we've tried that. And it kind of reminds me of, like the hoses that there's like a little spring a leak and a spring a leak and we're trying to like patch it up and there's just like leaks then everywhere. I feel like there's some like animation from back when I was a kid where you're trying to like plug it. And that's what I feel like. I feel like we were just running, trying to like, oh, here's one over here. Let's go get it. When really we was like, okay, this hose is shit. we need to take it and we need to go get ourselves a new one. And what kind do we want to get? And that's kind of where we're at now is, okay, let's remove this system. So when things have been coming up now that kind of have to do with our broken system, it's actually really interesting because we both have the awareness of, oh, we are not kind of emotionally tied to this system anymore, even though, I mean, we have a tether to it, but we're not going to each advocate for our own side of this system anymore because we know it's not working. So that's kind of this interesting kind of letting go and this new conversation of, well, what do we want this to look like? So we're sort of just in this, I don't even know what it's not like a void, but it's like, it feels very inviting. It feels exciting. It feels like maybe like when you're selling your house and moving to a new house and you are in control of all the possibilities of what you're going to put in it and how do you want it to look. And that's really how it feels. And I think, especially within relationships and marriages, these conversations can be one, they can be really difficult. Two, you have work, you have potentially kids, you have all of these commitments. Maybe you're on committees or boards, or you have your health, parents, all of these things, they take your time. And when you don't have the time, it's easy to kind of look away and just get comfortable with mediocre, or like, I know this isn't working, but like us, I didn't know how bad it wasn't working until the pressure got put on. And then, yeah, this isn't working. But I think being okay with it not working and knowing, let's get excited about creating something new. We're talking about marriage here or any sort of relationship. You would have to have hopefully the other person on board with looking at it and being like, okay, what does it look like to wipe this slate clean and really examine, how do we want to build this system? It can be, all different kind of pillars in life or your values. And as as I said in the not being Superwoman episode, it may have worked before. And then maybe you have an illness or whatever it is in life that has highlighted the fact that, oh, these big systems, these big things they're no longer working for us. And we have to do some deep work in order to fix them, in order to get on the course that you want to be on. Because it doesn't have, I mean, we were getting to be just kind of really uncomfortable for a long time. And it was like we'd have some really good days and then shit would come up and it's like, fuck. And that's how I like a lot of the time it was like, fuck, like we love each other so much. Like literally, it's like to our like core and bones. Why does this have to be so difficult? And it's so layered. And it's like, okay, when you have a plan and you're working towards something together, or if you have differing views, what does that look like in working towards that together? And how do you have conversations about that? I started making in my notes app rules of engagement, which was my dating when I got divorced. And who was I going to date? It was must love coffee. And it was my list. And now I've made my rules of engagement with him kind of like, okay, here are the non-negotiables. Here are the things that we really just they're not serving us as we have these conversations, and kind of we're paying attention to these things. So we're not shying away from the things where it's like, oh, I didn't like that, but we're looking at it as okay, I'm not going to have my emotion be pulled into this. I'm not going to have any defensiveness be pulled into it. I'm just going to say it's a statement, and these are the things that we're going to agree to not do or to do. So we've got that. And the other thing I kind of like, who can help you? And like I said before, like this doesn't necessarily have to be hired professionals, although I think that like this is a lot of the work that I do, not necessarily marriages like this, obviously, but in looking at, okay, what isn't working and how do we build there? But I am too fucking close to it. I cannot see it. And we have to pull people in, and we have some people close to us that have these skills and are there if we need them. And kind of, how did you do this? And what do you think of this situation? So trusted people that you can pull in to support you in this. And I want to get it done in a very swift manner because I'm like, okay, we've kind of been dealing with this for a while. So I just want to rip the fucking Band-Aid off and let's go at this quickly, as quickly as possible. Let's build it. And here's what's going to happen though, because once you dismantle, which we've kind of already been doing, and you rebuild a system, just like the other systems, you're going to get into it. And it's like, oh, in our minds on paper, this sounded really good. As we go through it, it's not doing it. So I would really, even though I'm not there yet, just knowing that these things happen, setting a time like, okay, in 3 months, we're going to do a check-in. Kind of like my husband and I, we do the weekly meetings where we have every Sunday, we go over everything. So kind of like that, like a quarterly check-in of, okay, we rebuilt this new system. And maybe yours is not a complete overhaul like we need. Like we need, like we're picking up the house and we're moving it on a different foundation. And maybe you don't have that, but having like knowing that there's going to be some areas where like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Like this is not the outcome that we thought this system would get us, this new plan. Like the purpose of it is the outcome. Like you're going to a place. And if it's not getting you to that place, then how can you look at it differently? So that's a little personal update. And I'm actually really excited. I was kind of terrified. Like a month ago, I was just terrified because these are things I was getting hard on myself. I'm like, I feel like I should know how to do this. And no, I shouldn't know how to do this. I can do many things, but this is too close. And being one of the humans involved trying to do it, that is just, no, that's not going to happen. So if this hits, I just think sometimes, and the world's on fire, so we have all these things, but I just think slowing down and paying attention to the things. How does it feel? And if you're feeling more ick more often, I just think that's a really good sign to, do something differently. And who knows what that will be, but life's too short to feel like shit. And especially in the things that we can control, So, all right. Thank you. If this hit at all, I would love to hear what came up for you because like I said, I don't normally share things when I'm in the middle of it. I like to come in with like, here is a nice laid out plan. But I think this is sort of one of the ones where when things feel too big that people don't necessarily go into it and do something about it. So I want to share from this kind of perspective of it. And then hopefully I will have an update for you in a couple months because this shit's going to get done and it's going to get done quickly because I do not have patience for that. I like to get the things done and then figure the shit out. Right? Okay. All right. Have a fabulous day. Bye. Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.